This is what it was like in the 90s every year. Tough team, gritty, guys you liked, and usually made a postseason run. And this is the first time in 24 years they've won back-to-back seasons where they've won a playoff series.
Always follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Knicks favored by 6 in this game, total between 217 and a half. We'll run down their regular season history here in a minute. So I found this interesting. Jalen Brunson obviously has been the man for the Knicks going back several weeks now. And his points in the Sixers series in reverse order, 41, 40, 47, 39. And then he had the 2 games where he didn't play well right away, and they won both games anyway, 24 and 22. Brunson, if you just throw that series out for a second and go rest of the month of April for the regular season, he had 3 other 40-point games and 6 games where he scored 35-plus points. So he is truly on a heater going into the series. Then, don't forget that he played with the Mavericks and his head coach, Rick Carlisle.
Oh, yeah.
This came out on Brian Windhorst, his Hoop Collective podcast. Tim McMahon was on it, who covers the Mavericks. And he says Jalen Brunson would enjoy absolutely lighting up the Indiana Pacers because of his history with Rick Carlisle. 3 years ago, he points out, Brunson played 10 minutes in a Game 7 loss, and he didn't play a whole lot more than that in the previous few games. Carlisle basically pulled the plug on him. I can assure you this, Jalen Brunson remembers getting benched in that series. Jalen got a lot of that stuff. Maybe shouldn't have been going to Luka. Thought a lot of that stuff should not have been going to Luka. A lot of the film sessions were particularly harsh on Jalen Brunson. That's all from Tim McMahon on Windhorst Hoop Collective. So he's already playing, setting the world on fire here, and now he's pissed off about Carlisle still holding a grudge?
It's a great angle.
Wow.
Yep, and it's also a guy who's been proving people wrong his whole life, and people have doubted him, and he's always trying to silence the doubters. It goes back to even when the Knicks signed him. Why'd you give him $100 million? What are you doing? We got Becky Hammond a couple months ago. The Knicks don't have that dude. He's too small. He can't. Nope. And here they are again. And he's averaged 31 a game since the break, and I can't wait to talk to Brian Mahoney. I mean, for this guy to be, and he didn't play well because people are pointing out, look at the numbers, right? Because he's only getting 10 minutes and it wasn't doing much offensively when he was with those Dallas teams. But he credits Jason Kidd for saying, finally give me a chance. And then he was awesome in the playoffs when Luka was hurt, and then that led him to get the big deal, and he would have stayed in Dallas for like $20 million a year, and he goes to New York, and now the guy's MVP candidate, one of the best players in the NBA. And you're right, the heater that he's on, like 40 and 10 every game, what he's doing and how he played against the Sixers to get the win. But this is a great tweet from a Knicks fan about, hey, Knicks fans who are under the age of 40, this is what it was like in the 90s every year. Tough team, gritty, guys you liked, and usually made a postseason run. And this is the first time in 24 years they've won back-to-back seasons where they've won a playoff series.
So here's what I did with Brunson's player prop tonight. The total is 217. Now, I don't know how much of the regular season is going to have to do with this because a lot of the players were not involved. I say that because Siakam wasn't on the Pacers for some of those games. OG didn't play. Halliburton got hurt, and he was just coming back in some of those games. They were high-scoring affairs, though. I mean, the first time they played was 140 to 126.
Yep.
They played in other high-scoring games as well. But I bet Brunson. I found even money to score 35-plus, and I found plus 290 to score 40-plus. I bet them both last night.
He averaged 35 a game against them in a regular season. He's minus 10,000 at DraftKings to lead in scoring for the series.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
The first game, the Knicks were 17 of 37 from deep. The next game, they were 8 of 38. And the third game, they were 10 of 32. So they only shot the ball once well from downtown. The Pacers were 23 of 43 in one game, and they were 14 of 29 in another game. Again, they scored 140 and 125 points in 2 of them. The totals back then in the regular season, the lowest total when they played was 235.5.
Yep.
And that was in New York, and that game went way under. Think about this. Again, Brunson here. They only scored 109 points in that win, but he had 40 points and he shot 30 times. That's another common denominator. December 30th, when they played in Indy, they had Randall, and he had 28 and 12. We'll forget about that. Brunson still shot 22 times. The second time they played, he shot 30 times. And the third time they played, February 10th, he also shot 25 times. So he's going to put up 25, 30 shots in this game tonight.
It's a great series. And it's also why, because of that standpoint, we've talked about the pace differential. Indiana's second, the Knicks are last, but I do think the Knicks will run with them. And Indiana, I mean, look at the defense. It's 9 against 24 in their top 10 offenses. And Indiana, the second best offense in NBA history, and 123 points per game. Number one in NBA history, assist to turnover ratio. What they've done. So this is just bananas here about how good this could be on paper. And I think that this could be a high-scoring series. Now, what I said Friday was I thought 220 was too high. Well, it keeps going up now. And there hasn't been one person I've seen that's picked the Pacers. And on ESPN.com, everyone who covers the league, all 16 people picked the Knicks to win the series. You write the same thing.
Yeah, this happened 3 years ago when they played the Hawks in the first round. It was a 4-5 matchup. Folks, it was a pick'em. That was the betting number. It was a pick'em, and every single person, I think, except for one person at ESPN, picked the Knicks. And we're on the air saying, this is outrageous. It's a pick'em. How does everybody... This is what happens when a New York team gets good, and everybody falls not. And I'm like, I got to take the Hawks. And they won it like in 5 games. I do not want to take the Pacers in this series. I do not want to be on that side. I think the Knicks win. But this is going to force me... This number is insane to me.
Almost $3. I saw as high as $2.90. Now a little come down at some spots. I know, I'm with you. Well, here's some stats, some key numbers as far as I'm concerned. The success that they had against them. 8 30-point quarters for the Pacers against the Knicks. Thibodeau is a great coach, but he runs his guys into the ground. He plays them way too many minutes. The Knicks don't have depth, and now 3 guys in the Philly series played 41 minutes. So what are they going to have left in the tank? It is a young team, but you could worry about that too. Well, how will a young team do in the Garden, in the Mecca, and the place is going to be up for grabs as well. They also, only one time in the regular season, were held under 100 points. But Milwaukee held them down twice in that series, and they no-showed twice in that series. So, yeah, you won, but then you didn't have Freak and you didn't have Lillard for some of those games also, which would scare me. And then what Miles Turner am I going to get? The first 5 games against Milwaukee, 47% and 22 points per game, no-showed Game 6, bailed out by McConnell and Toppin. So that's another angle, too, about can McConnell keep this going. So the Halliburton-Brunson angle, the others, and the Hart, and DiVincenzo in this angle with the Knicks. But there's a lot going on here. And to me, it's a tough series, but the Knicks, too much respect here. And I'd like to see them win because Boston, New York, for the right to go to the finals would be great. But I'm very concerned now because look at the schedule. These games, this is not this crap of, it could take 2.5 weeks to play a series if it goes 7. The games are every other night.
Yeah.
And he's going to play, and he's not, you don't have Bogdanovich. He doesn't trust the other guys. He runs these guys into the ground. What are they going to have left in the tank?
Now, Turner did play really well in 2 out of the 3 regular season games. He had 29 and 6 threes in one game, and he came back in another game and he had 23. McConnell played well. Siakam, in the one game that he did play, he played well. Halliburton, the first time they played, had 22 points and 23 assists. In the game in February 1st, that was like his second game back from the injury, so he was not exactly playing so hot back then, but then they played 9 games later and he had 22 and 12. But again, like those Knicks teams never had OG.
Nope.
No Hartenstein in one of them. The third time they played, Alec Burks had 22 points.
Yeah, they're saying they want some minutes from him. Knicks fans are questioning that. But, yeah, I love that angle, too. Siakam and OG were teammates, and I'll go head-to-head. And I think the Knicks are 23-5 with OG in there since they acquired him. So it's a completely different team. DiVincenzo
played well.
Uh-huh.
Again, the regular season here, the total down to 217. We've seen in the playoffs, and really since the NBA changed how the referees were going to be calling these games, the totals have been, sinking big time. But the totals in the regular season were 248.5, 235.5, and 237.5. And watch what the Pacers do when they pick up full court, by the way.
Now, that's a great move.
That's how they want to try to wear these teams out and force them to get into play up and down the court like that.
What the Timberwolves did against Joker, too, in Game 1.
Yep.
Make the guy work. Tire him out.
I'm concerned that the Knicks are going to kill this team on the boards, though.
Could happen.
I think the Pacers are bottom 5 NBA
Yeah.
defensive rebounding percentage.
Yeah. Well, the Milwaukee had success against them, though, switching a lot of stuff and held them in check offensively. So that's, Thibodeau can look at that as well and maybe shut them down and limit them what they could do. But I'd take the 6 from the get-go tonight.